gentlemen, everybody, wherever you are, however you may be listening, welcome to Coast to Coast. I am here with Philly Sports Guy and Stats Guy. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Doing good, and you know, uh, we sent a raft over to Jay. We hear that the flood has begun over there. That it is happening, and Noah did not build an ark fast enough, so we sent over a life raft. Hopefully, it gets to you soon, there, Jay.
Well, I mean, it makes sense that it's there because it's the amount of tears by that fan base based on how that Dallas Cowboy team is going to look.
Yeah, between the Dallas Cowboys and the Astros, yeah, they're in a tough battle. So.
So, you guys, oops, shoot, almost jumped out of this thing. Uh, so, you
That'd
got,
have been a quick show.
and we're done. uh, so you got the Sixers, fighting for their life tonight. What do you need to see out of Embiid? Because he's had kind of a weird series, right? He's had a game where he was playing out of his mind, and then the last game he was a turnover machine. Wait, what do you need to see out of him to actually get the win?
15 rebounds.
Okay.
That's what I think. I think that the rebounds is the biggest deal. They got to rebound. They cannot be beaten on the boards. And it's a big deal. Like if they win this game, I that I think New York. This is a must win for New York.
I'd
New
agree.
York does not want to go back to Game 7, and if they go back to Game 7, the Sixers win this series. That being said, I don't think that the Sixers are going to win this series. I think that they lose tonight. I think that they have a hard time dealing with the full court press. And something tells me that Jay Wright's going to be in attendance today. Yeah, because he's got a lot of people, which means that he would maybe go talk to that locker room in for New York. I mean, I know that he's like a Philly guy right now and that he coached Villanova, but half of his team is over there right now, is on the Knicks. And he has mentioned on more than one occasion that the Knicks is his dream job.
Okay.
So I mentioned it yesterday on his show, saying that to two Knicks fans, I asked them specifically. Shout out to Mac and Keith, where I said, if the Knicks lose this series, do they fire Thibodeau? And the only reason why I even mentioned that as a possibility of firing Thibodeau, because Jay Wright has said that the Knicks is his dream job, and he's got half of Villanova on that squad already. So he's very familiar with the players, and the way they are playing this series is right out of his playbook.
I mean, that would be interesting. I could see how that could work. So what did they chime in with? What would Max say on that?
Mac and Keith both said that they do not believe that they would get rid of Thibodeau. That because of the injuries that happened throughout the year with the Knicks and where they wound up, that it would send a bad message. That being said, I said, listen, you don't get rid of him unless you know that you can get Jay Wright. Because why get rid of him unless you're going to get the coach that is a better coach in general? Sure. So you got to make the phone call to Jay Wright first. And I don't know how Jay Wright's going to take to that. You know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of things. Like, Jay Wright would be like, you didn't get rid of your current coach. I don't like that. You know what I mean? Because Jay Wright's an honorable guy. But you got to word that conversation in a very unique way. Be like, hey, I'm reaching out to you because I think that they're,
we're good enough to win. We have your guys. If you're not into it, we'll roll with what we have. I mean, I could see how that conversation would go. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, if you're him, that may rub you kind of wrong.
Well, I mean,
You don't want to be the guy that gets someone fired, right?
well,
Like if they fire him anyway, cool. But you don't want to be. I mean, unless you just didn't like the guy, I guess. But
yeah, but like I said, even
Look what
go ahead.
I was say, like what happened with Craig Counsell and the Cubs this year. David Ross was basically given all the vote of confidence by the owners, and then 5 days later, he was fired for Craig Counsell.
yeah,
Well, and that's kind of part of it here. Like, if you're the Knicks, if you don't get out of this first round, if you lose this first round, being up 3-1, and up by 5 points with 21 seconds left to go in a game, the game 5, that becomes a really devastating loss of a series.
Yeah.
And one that you may not recover from the following year.
sure.
And-
Yeah, you can
and
have a
that's-
hangover from that.
Yeah, that's definitely a big deal. So I think that's part of the reason. Like, there's no reason why the Knicks should lose this game. No reason.
Oh,
But
agreed.
if they do, and they lose this series to the Sixers, a series that they kind of outplayed them, there is no silver lining to that. You're
No,
stuck.
especially being up the way they were. Like if you squander that away, then I mean, there's nothing you're going to take away positive from that experience.
Right. And that's part of the issue. That's why I even suggest that this is a potential possibility. And let's face it, Jay Wright is not in basketball right now. He's retired. He does not said, "Hey, I want to get back into basketball." So this is all on a whim. This is all me just talking out loud. And that's
Sure.
really all it is. It's not even the Knicks talking out loud. But I think you absolutely have to make the call, right? Just to see.
I mean,
Even if
since
it
it is
becomes an
obvious-
ugly situation. You know what I mean? The worst is to say, like, I'm offended that you are even asking me that question while you still have a coach. There's no chance that I would ever coach this team while you've done this. At that point, it's like, okay, well, I listen, I had to do my due diligence as the general manager and responsibility of a franchise.
Sure.
Right.
And if Jay doesn't understand that, and Jay goes the opposite way on that, which I don't think he will. I think that Jay is a realist guy. You know what I mean? He may say no because you haven't fired Thibodeau. And, unfortunately, it's one of those things where you say, yeah, you fire Thibodeau first, then I'll think about it. That doesn't work. That doesn't fly here.
Well, no, I mean, because as the Knicks, you got to protect yourself, right?
Right.
Like you're not gonna get rid of the guy was able to do all these things with the team, and now you're just floating out there hoping you can find a coach if he doesn't come in. So I mean, you do have to proactively make that phone call. So I mean, I guess worst case, you offend him, he's never going to be there. Well, he's retired already anyway.
Right. So, but again, it's like I said, it's a very touchy situation because you don't want to. You also, I don't suspect that Jay Wright would go right to the press and leak that. Like that would have to be leaked. That'd have to be leaked interior. So nobody would ever know that phone call gets made beyond just like almost like a wellness check. Hey Jay, just seeing how you're doing.
That's right. Want to float an idea by you.
I mean, but that's a realistic thing. I mean, let's think about
for
that.
sure.
I mean, he would go in there and he would make that team legitimate right away.
Yeah. I mean, they appear to be anyway. So, I mean, it's always just taking that next step, right? Now, from Rob here, I hope this is true. That would be kind of awesome.
So that is true.
Is
He
it?
bought 2,000 tickets.
That's awesome.
However, what's he
Put him
doing
on
with those
StubHub.
tickets? If he's putting them on StubHub, that's where the Knicks are going to go buy them.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's odd. The way that game across was odd to me. Oh, I'm buying 2,000 tickets so that the Knicks fans don't come. I'm going to give them away.
I mean,
'Cause
that's
I tell you, I could use a ticket.
right? Yeah, I mean, because how are you going to keep Knicks fans from buying them?
Right.
Like you're gonna vet them. You're gonna go through their social medias and stuff and see if they have ever worn a Nick anything.
And
Like,
it's a late game, very late game, 9:00.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not a normal start time. So
I mean, that's fine here on the West Coast. 6 o'clock games, great.
yeah, great for you guys. And I'm sure that's why they did it, because there isn't a West Coast game today. I think it's only.
Yeah.
I think it's only Indiana and the Bucks today.
Yeah, they're at 6 or 6:30,
Oh, yeah.
whatever.
And that's why we're at 9. Because nobody wants to watch Indiana and the Bucks.
That's fair.
Do I think the Phillies will be in first place after the Phillies beat the San Francisco Giants? Well, I mean, right now it's the reason why they're not in first place as we speak, or that they're tied for first place, is because the Braves have played 2 less games. So the Braves got to play the same amount of games before we can figure that out. And it doesn't matter whether we're in first place or not. The fact that we have the most wins in baseball as of today, I am a fan. Keep winning. Keep winning series. That's all we want. Keep winning series.
I mean, that's all you can ask, right? Like, just win the series.
Yeah, if you win 2 out of 3 and 3 out of 4 every series, you are going to wind up in first place.
Yep, that's a 96 win pace.
Yep, there's no doubt.
So
you'll also win a ring, because winning a series is how you do that.
Exactly.
Like,
and I said all season long, the Phillies will make the last out of the baseball year, of the baseball season. The Philadelphia Phillies will make that final out.
Or be that final out. You know.
No. They will not be that final out. They will make that final out.
Yeah.
Or a walk-off.
Sure.
To end it. Which then, ultimately that means they could have had 1 out or 2 outs, and but either way, the last at bat will end with either a put out, a fly out, or a hit by the Phillies. Maybe even a strikeout. I don't care how that all happens.
As long as it's an out.
Good luck with that.
Or a sad loss to the M's.
Or the M's already sad because they lost.
Did you guys hear the news out of Pittsburgh this morning?
What's that?
So I thought the Atlanta Falcons were stupid for drafting Michael Penix. According to Mike Tomlin this morning, Justin Fields is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers kick returner.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why not?
Amazing.
That is actually, that's probably a great move. As long as he can catch the ball.
Tomlin literally said he's the fastest player on our football team. And with the new kickoff, because with the new kickoff rules, they're going to that UFL kickoff rule where you can't even run at the kick return until the ball gets to a certain spot. Justin Fields ain't going to take the hits he normally would take.
Yeah, as long as he can get through that first line. I mean,
Yeah, that's interesting. Does that make Tyreek Hill that guy too?
No, they'll probably use that Devin Etienne.
Yeah.
That rookie running back that they had in Miami last year, that was the second fastest guy behind Tyreek Hill.
No. Didn't they draft a guy who was has the same type of speed As what's
He
his
does.
face, he's just got no hands.
Yeah, that's why they probably put HGN back there, because HGN can actually catch.
Got ya. Because that'd be
So that's
funny.
a good,
Have somebody
a
back
good-
there to catch the ball and then hand it directly to him.
that's a good way to get Fields. That's a good way to use Fields and Russell Wilson on the field at the same time. Have one return kick.
I mean, I guess. I mean, you better hope he doesn't get hurt, I guess.
I don't
And
think
also-
think there will be as many injuries because of that new kickoff rule that they're doing. The UFL kickoff rule, as unorthodox as it is, it does work. It does lead to more returns. It leads to a lot less significant hits that we're used to seeing. And I think the NFL is going to be very successful with it because you have a lot of players like Cordell Patterson, Keenan Wong, and a lot of these good kick returners that have had that element of the game taken away from them the last 5 years because of the kickoff. This is going to bring it back.
Yeah, and you know what? Also, I don't know if you've noticed, but not only has there been the problem with the kickoffs, but punt returns have suffered as well because of it.
Yep, and this rule is also going to be in effect for that too. The UFL style rules are going to be in effect for both the kickoffs and the punts.
What does that mean? How do you do that for punts?
So
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You can't do it for punts.
yeah, the UFL does it for punts too. So I have not watched the UFL much, but apparently for the UFL, there's a certain rule where you're not allowed to make contact. I don't know. I have to look into it. It's like the kickoff rule where you kick off from your own 30-yard line. The kicking team lines up at the opponent's 35. The receiving team lines up at their own 25, so they're only 10 yards apart, and they cannot run at each other till that kick returner touches the ball.
Oh, for a kickoff, yeah.
Yeah, punt is the same way. There's a certain rule where they can't run at each other after the ball's in the air. They can run at each other until the ball's in the air. Then they gotta stop blocking until the punt returner catches it.
Wow, I gotta watch some.
That's way too much to manage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Way too much.
I don't know how that works. I'll have to check that out. That seems very weird.
It is weird, but the punt returns are up in the UFL. The return averages, I think across the league, they're averaging almost 13 yards per punt return. So the return numbers are up. The yards per return are up. Kick returns are averaging over 30 yards per return.
Well, yeah, I mean, so for
Yeah,
them, that
if
makes
you
a
make
lot of-
everybody stop except the guy who's catching the ball, yeah, I can see how.
well, not just that, but in the UFL, they're also kicking from the 25. So they moved the kickoff
Yeah,
spot
they're kicking.
back.
So for the NFL is going to go back to the original spot of the 30.
Yeah.
Because they're kicking from the 35. They're kicking from the 35 now, so they're going to move it back to the 30. So theoretically, you're still going to have some touchbacks because some kickers can still kick it out the end zone from the 30. But you're going to have
but
a lot more.
You're not going to do that though, because if you kick a true touchback, it comes out to the 30 or the 35.
So now you're going to have a lot more return.
Yeah, I mean, because you got to hit the target zone. If you're short of the target zone, it comes out to the 40.
No, the best bet is that you hit the target zone and it rolls into the end zone because then it only comes out to the 20.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
I'm excited for it because I think it's going to change the element of the game again, like you saw back when Devin Hester was around, where every team had to account for Devin Hester on the field. So you had to decide, are we going to kick it into the end zone and risk him taking it back for 6, or am I going to try to pin him inside the 5 and risk having it roll out of bounds and give the ball up at the 35? So now you're going to have to put that back
At
into
the 40.
perspective.
At the 40.
yeah, the
So
40.
now you're going to have to. So now you're going to have to put it into perspective. Do I try to risk having this guy running back for 6, or how are we going to do this?
I think most of the people will kick
Yeah, I mean,
I
I think you're going to kick, but
until you actually start to get touchdowns scored on you by a certain guy. That's when. So
Yep.
somebody's going to have 6 touchdowns before they stop kicking to him.
Yep.
yeah, or your coverage team is just terrible, and you're like, you know what, the 35 is better.
At that point, no, yeah, you're better off just having it go to the 40. Because that's what it is. If you don't get it into the zone, if you kick it earlier than the zone, you go right to the 40.
Yeah, but if you bang it out the back of the end zone, it's to the 35.
Right.
So, and most of these kickers could do that. So, so if you got a guy that's burning you, then yeah, you're just unloading on this thing and putting it out the back.
And I
don't
honestly
think that'll
wouldn't I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL
moves what?
I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL moves the kickoff back to the 25. I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL moves the kickoff back to the 25 because 90% of kickers can kick it 75 yards out of the end zone. You move it back to the 25, a 75-yard kickoff puts it right at the goal line.
Yeah, well, and that's essentially what the XFL did, right? Like you were kicking from the 20 or the 25, something like that. So I mean, they were unloading on that ball. They hit the target.
Most of those kickers can't even get it to the 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. NFL, it'll be a lot easier in the NFL for them to get it in that target zone. So if you're kicking from the 25, a 78-yard kick puts it 3 yards deep in the end zone. Those guys are going to take that out all day.
No doubt. Yeah. Especially because no one can move. So
exactly.
I do like that they got rid of the fair catch thing. I hated that element that they added to the kickoff where you could fair catch it within the 20 and it would still, it was a touchback. I mean, they did everything possible.
All right, so they're not moving it back to the 30. It is still from the 35.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Safety kicks will still happen from the 20.
Yep.
All kicking team players will, other than the kicker, will line up 1 foot on the receiving team's 40-yard line.
Yep.
The kicker cannot cross the 50 until the ball touches the ground or the player.
Yep.
The other 10 kicking team can't catch the ball until it's received or lands in the end zone.
Everybody but the returner is frozen until the ball either hits the ground or it has been received by the returner.
But if they're still kicking it from the 35, aren't they still going to kick it out of the end zone?
Well, if you got a guy that's torching you all day, probably, right? Because I'd rather you come out to the 35 than have you burn me for a touchdown.
So you need at least 7 players with 1 foot on the 35.
Yeah, the receiving team has 3 floater guys, but they still have to be within 10 yards.
2 floater guys at the very least. You could have 2 people in the back.
Yeah, 2 return,
two
potential returners. Yeah.
Players not on the restraining line must be lined up in the setup zone outside the hash marks. So they can only be outside the hash marks. They can't be inside the hash marks.
Yeah, they're essentially like a gunner pickup. Although there's no gunner, so it's kind of weird. But
nobody can move until the ball is got it.
Yeah.
The landing zone is the 20 to the goal line.
Yep.
Blah, blah, blah. No fair catching allowed.
Correct. Because no one can move, so there's no reason to fair catch anyway.
Right.
How about this? Here's a good one. If conditions cause ball to fall off tee twice, then kicker will be allowed to use a kicking stick to keep the ball in place. The closest covering official will pick up the stick immediately after the kick.
Yeah, which is similar to when the tee, right?
Well, no, I mean, you use a tee right now anyways, but usually have somebody holding it. Now they're going to have a kicking stick holding it.
Yeah. It'd be the setup stick like you're practicing field goals by yourself, but which you hold it on the tee. But, as far as a ref picking it up, they're already running out there to pick something up anyway.
Current onside kickoff rules would apply if onside kick goes beyond the setup zone. Untouched, kicking team penalized for UNS. I don't know what that is. Return team would start the drive at the 20-yard line.
I just say do away with the whole onside kick to begin with and just do what the UFL does for the onside kick. Make it convert a 4th and 20.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with the onside kick, you don't get the element of surprise anymore. They limit when you can do it. They've basically gotten rid of it anyway,
Yeah.
Right. So it's too bad because it was always kind of a fun thing to see. But soon as they made it so that your coverage team couldn't move, that play had a much harder time being successfully ran. Now you're going to have to disclose that you're going to do it, right? You only have a small window of when you can do it. So, I mean, yeah, I'm with you there. You might as well just do a 4th and 20 and call it a day.
Okay. There we go. Bam.
But I do like the rule for at least the kicking, at least that special teams play being relevant again, right? Because kick return hasn't mattered in, quite a few years now.
Yeah.
I mean, they just punch it out the back of the end zone. I think, if I remember right, 22% were actually returned. I mean, that's nothing.
This year was 14%.
It was 14.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's insane. Right. And then onside kicks, it was like a 5% successful conversion rate. So it's not like that wasn't highly successful when they didn't always know it was coming.
Although the surprise ones were good. Like when you could do that. Like, I mean, there were certain surprise onside kicks that were freaking amazing.
Yeah. I mean, Pat McAfee did a few of them that were amazing. They were awesome.
The start of the pickle juice game started in Dallas with an onside kick from the Eagles.
Yeah.
It's like
the
first kick of the season was an onside kick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I remember the Saints doing it coming out of halftime once, like it was, it was a big piece.
It didn't work that day. It didn't work. That coming out of halftime once, it didn't work. But yes, it was in a playoff game.
Yes. But yeah,
I think they still won that game. By the way, I don't think.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it gets rid of the surprise element of it. Although with the new rule, it would have been gone anyway. But.
Right.
Anyways, so yeah, I mean that's I didn't see anything about the punts. I think punts are remaining the same.
Yeah, I didn't see any changes to the punt.
Yeah, there isn't any injuries that are going to occur that make it say, okay, you have to, do it differently than what we've been doing all this time.
Yeah.
But looks like it's pouring over there, stat guy.
Oh, it's more than pouring. I got a monsoon right now.
That's great.
You driving down to Jay's house?
No, I'm not. Driving the opposite direction.
North to Green Bay, the Upper Peninsula.
That's where I'm going.
The UP. That's always a great spot. There ain't nothing up there. Lots of nothing.
We're supposed to have a baseball game up here today, but I doubt that's going to happen.
I mean, based on your windows, I'm going to go with probably not.
The team we play has like an indoor stadium they can use if needed.
Oh, okay. Well,
But if they have softball going on today too, softball gets to use that field first.
Yeah. So you're playing baseball, not softball.
Baseball, yeah.
And you're what?
I'm not playing. I'm just coaching.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, that's weak sauce.
No, I can't play. Well, I cannot play baseball.
There used to be a time where, I used to play slow pitch. I haven't played in a couple of years, and surprisingly enough, I was a guy that could hit the ball. It's like nobody ever thought that I was like that guy, but I could get into one, and actually that ball would fly. And then,
my 7th grade year, I was 0 for 31 hitting.
Man, that's where you just lean into a pitch. Just get on base.
But I was 64 for 64 in stolen base.
Oh, okay. So when you got beamed,
No, a lot of times.
So anytime there was a passed ball, you were swinging anyways and trying to run to first to steal first.
Yeah, and then they used me as a pinch runner. So
Oh,
then my
that's
eighth
funny.
grade year. So then my 8th grade year, I went back out for baseball. And they literally told me before the season started, "You're never gonna hit. You're just gonna run." I'm like, "I'm good with that. I suck at hitting. Just put me on the base when you need me to be on base, and let me run."
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, stolen bases were not my thing. I could hit a ball, and if I got into one, I could hit it a ton. And also, I was also pretty good at doing some situational hitting.
Oh, okay.
I could hit the ball. I could hit the ball to right field sometimes, being a right-handed hitter.
Yeah.
My power actually would go to right center. Of all the places, like I could turn on a ball, and I could have it go to left field, but my power swing would always go trail to center, left center. I'm sorry, right center. I mean,
Interesting.
that's just where my power swing went. So I was always good at hitting it up the middle, but when you play slow pitch softball, you try to stay away from the middle because, let's face it, if the pitchers were any good, they wouldn't be playing slow pitch softball. So
Fair enough.
And there's usually a rover out there somewhere too.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like you got that person that's just kind of floating around.
yeah, so, but yeah, that's why I would try my best not to hit it up the middle. You don't want to hit it back towards the pitcher, and I don't want to have to apologize to a pitcher because I hit him in the head.
See, that's always the thing with softball, right? Is you always try to avoid that straight up the middle because at some point you're going to top the ball a little bit and you're just going to bean them square. And then their team gets mad and they want to bean your pitcher even though you're not trying to do it. Yep.
I mean, let's face it. We are playing slow pitch softball. If we were any good at anything, we wouldn't be playing slow pitch softball. We'd be playing actually baseball or anything like that. So if we knew actually how to direct the ball to hit it up the middle, because there are certain leagues that do that.
Yes.
There are certain competitive leagues that if you want to hit the ball up the middle, they want you to. You know what I mean? And I don't play in those leagues because I'm not really interested in fighting every game.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, otherwise you play hockey.
Exactly. But so yeah, it's I miss playing slow pitch softball. But I'm too busy on Sundays anymore, and during the week it's just too much trying to get to all the games and things like that.
There's too much of a time commitment. Like that's why I was always just like a pickup player. It's like if you need me, like shoot me a text. If I'm available, I'll come out. If I'm not, I'm not. And so I was always good for 3-4 games a year because it just happened to work out schedule wise. But they're like, "Do you want to be on part of the team?" It's like, man, I can't. Like, basically, I would spend money and then you'd be mad at me the whole time because I'd still make it to 3 games.
Right.
Counting what we have for games for the high school season, then our summer high school team, and then counting the games that I coach for my son's travel ball, I will have 102 games to coach from the beginning of March to the end of August.
Wow. That is a ridiculous.
Do you have to use the pink ball? Do you have to use the pink ball in March?
Nope.
A bright yellow ball.
Our high school field actually has full turf. So turf outfield, turf infield. So whenever we have snow, we just got to take one of those brush things on the turf and brush it right off.
Okay. Yeah, but that's not all the stadiums.
We're fortunate enough where we're the only ones that can typically play at home in March. So we have 13 home games and 11 road games for the high school season. We had basically 9 of our 13 home games the first 4 weeks because we're the only one that can play at home. And now we're pretty much on the road the rest of the year until the last week just because we use a lot of our home games early on because we have the turf.
Well, that's nice of you them to give you that, all those home games in the beginning.
I'd rather do that than have to play 9 games in a 10-day stretch where we don't have enough pitchers to do that.
Okay, then. But everybody you got to get the blower to be able to blow the snow off the field. I mean, what happens if there's an ice storm? You're not getting ice off of the field.
No, we won't get the ice off. No, we were fortunate enough to not have ice. I think we only would have had 2 games canceled this year if we didn't have the turf. We had snow on one of the games that we got off, and then rain like 2 days later, which drains up. But outside of that, the weather's been fairly decent besides today.
Well, it's not. Is it snowing or is it rain?
It's just raining, but the field we play today, if we don't get to use the indoor field, is grass and dirt, so it's going to be just puddles of mud everywhere.
Yeah.
That's a good group. Puddle of mud.
Yeah, it is a good group.
Yep. Haven't thought about that band in a long time, but
I don't know. He just said it, and that just made me think about it. So that's why I wanted to just bring it up.
yeah.
So I'm on this app. I'm going to talk about this for a second. I'm on this app called Memento.
Okay.
And so Memento is meant specifically for going to games. Okay, like, all right, these are the games I've gone to. I take a picture of myself just so that I can give myself the memento because it doesn't allow me to save the videos to the app. But ultimately, it tells me all the stadiums I've gone to, all the games that I've witnessed, all the teams that I've watched against, and also keeps my record.
Interesting.
So I am looking to figure out what my record was for April. And I don't think it was that good, actually. Actually, it was better than March. March was terrible because I went back in and I was on a bad losing streak, actually, until I got to April. So April may have been better.
Playoff record's the one we got to worry about.
Exactly. But going into April, I mean, it's starting at I was at April 1st, I was at a Flyers game that they lost. Phillies game that they won. Phillies game that they lost. Flyers game that they won. Sixers game that they won. Is somebody counting? Because I'm not counting as I'm doing this. So
I thought it gave you the stats. I was
No, it for some reason it hasn't. It's like it's got all the stats and all the wins I've had, but it has for every game. So a lot of these games,
like in blocks. I got you.
Right. So yeah, it was 1 loss with the Flyers, 1 win with the Phillies, 1 loss with the Phillies. So 1-2, 2-2, 3-2, 4-2, 4-3, 5-3, 6-3, 7-3, 6-4, 6-4 for all of April. Well, I didn't go to a lot of games in April.
Yeah, I mean that's not terrible though.
6-4 is pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's seeing 1 game of the Union, 1, 2, 3, 4 games of the Phillies, 5 games of the Phillies, 3 Flyers games.
If you won 6 out of every 10 games over the course of a Major League Baseball season, that's a 96-win season.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were talking about a little earlier.
Yeah, you got a good percentage going.
So far so good. Let's see. It's soccer.
March would have been the one to really look at, right? Because then you were down in Florida and going to a lot of games.
Well, so in March I was going to a lot of preseason games. I went to 2 hockey games.
Yeah.
But it's given me, because I've been to 3 stadiums, I've watched 8 teams, and have been there for 26 home runs.
Nice.
Interesting. I don't have any football right now, obviously.
Sure.
I've been to 11 hockey games, 4 arenas, 10 teams, and saw a total of 57 goals.
Nice. Huh. It's kind of a cool app.
Yeah. So something worthwhile to check it out if you have any interest whatsoever. And then people can follow you. It's like a social media of sorts.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, as I said, it's a great app. A kid turned me on to it, and I was like, okay, perfect. I want to do that just so that I can start to keep track of my wins and losses, because everybody says I'm a mush. I'm telling them that I'm not a mush. I'm actually better than you think. At least I think. Do I get rewarded for attending games, discounts, or other things? I do not. I wish.
If
I
you did,
mean,
you'd probably
I get into the game.
attend more.
I like that Dustin's catching a stray over here.
What do you mean?
Look
at these handsome guys
and Dustin.
Yeah. That's Frankie, though. That's Frankie.
Yep.
Hey,
So
if you were getting free stuff at games, you'd be going a lot more.
yeah, no doubt, especially free tickets. I mean, you get free tickets, it's easy to go, because then you can justify the rest of the expenses.
Almost. I would say that it's not as simple as you think it is, because you got to pay for parking, you got to pay for all the other stuff. It is a little bit of a pain in the ass.
Well, I mean, yes, but I mean, I guess it depends on what it is your transit system is like. Like for us, we have a pretty decent bus system, right? So I would just hop one of the buses down to the game because it drops off right at the stadium. But especially for like a midweek game, I'd totally just take the bus, because the bus isn't going to be packed out like it would be on the weekend. And you jump on, go watch the game. You don't have to care about traffic leaving, right? Because you're not driving. So you're like, eh.
Yeah, that doesn't work for me. If I have a train, but this train goes to 30th Street Station, then I'd have to take transfers to get to the stadium. There's no direct line from where I'm at to the stadium.
See, that's where Seattle is laid out decent. It's not laid out great to actually drive down there. They've really worked hard to make the roads a huge pain in the ass. But if you can take a bus, it'll drop off. You can take our light rail, it drops off at King Station, which is a block and a half away. So I mean, the ways to get to the games are actually relatively easy. But yeah, if you're driving down there, it's a nightmare most of the time. But new NIL rule requires NIL guys to play in the bowl games. I like that.
It has not been approved yet, but they've sent it through for approval.
I would be surprised if it's not approved.
Who's the head of the NIL?
No idea. Didn't even know that was a position. Like I actually know kind of little about how the NIL works. I can't say that I've done a ton of research in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, but the fact that you said that they sent it up to somebody to get approval, that means that there's an entity, which means that there's somebody in charge.
I think it's ultimately the head of college football and the head of college basketball that works hand in hand with somebody that's in control of the NIL. Whoever the higher ups in college football are, I don't know what the position is, but there is somebody that works directly with the NIL. So I think that's who has to ultimately approve it.
Gotcha. That sounds like something that the NCAA should be in charge of. The fact that they're not, because I didn't hear anything about the NCAA being in charge of the NIL.
The fact that it's not shows you why the NCAA is in the position they're in right now, too.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I think ultimately you're primed to watch the collapse of the NCAA, really.
Yes. And something came across my wire today that made me think of something else, and I'm going to mention something else rather than talk about what came across my wire. I still have not seen not one advertisement for the WNBA.
Yeah, none.
Not a one.
Yeah. No,
Had the draft, got all this momentum. More people watched the draft than ever before. Not one commercial, not one thing.
so prime example of this, right? Uh, in the process of trying to get media credentials for the WNBA, right? So I sent a message to them, and the easiest way to message them was on LinkedIn, oddly enough. And so I sent a message back on the 26th, and they got back to me Tuesday afternoon. And then they basically just gave me the name of someone else to reach out to. So I reach out to them and crickets, right? Now, it seems like if somebody is trying to cover your sport in something that doesn't clearly have great media coverage, considering none of us know, right? Like nobody hears anything about the WNBA or when it's going to start or anything.
Starts tomorrow.
Yeah, preseason, right? Yeah.
Preseason starts tomorrow. The regular season starts on the 14th to the 15th.
Yeah. But to find that information out, you had to actively go find it. Because that's how I had to find it. So it's, yeah. I mean, it seems crazy that there really seems to be no action from the WNBA to promote the product. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be a loser.
I mean, that's a good way to keep it one.
That's the only thing I could think of is that what's the best way to kill any momentum that you may have had going with the WNBA? Act like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, I think their hope is knowing how much of a following that Caitlin Clark has. People are just going to look for when Caitlin Clark's playing and just watch.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like if you marketed it even remotely correctly, right? And you're trying to get the Angel Reese rivalry type thing as part of it. I mean, at least you'd have two of the fan bases engaged.
Right.
I mean, and there's even a fun story from the Seattle side because the girl they just picked up, mind blanking her name offhand, she came from the same school as Sue Bird, right? So there's even like a fun story in that way that they could be hyping up, and you don't hear anything about it at all. And to your point, preseason starts tomorrow, and we've heard zero things. In a spot where we have a team.
We don't have a team here, but I mean, I have been watching sports. You know what I mean? I'm watching ESPN. Nope. TNT.
Yeah, but I mean,
nope.
So like, maybe ESPN isn't on it, right? But you would think that at least your local sports coverage.
How about throwing in a 15-second commercial during NBA games?
Right? Anything. I mean, especially now, it's postseason play for the NBA. It's their best viewership of the year. Why wouldn't you promote the product? Like maybe you're not watching, right? Because their regular season starts here in a couple of weeks, and you're going to be looking at the finals. But at least keeps the WNBA front and center in your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
And in between finals games, maybe you catch a WNBA game because you're already primed for watching basketball. Like, I don't know. It's wild to me that you're deliberately tanking your own product. Like it makes no sense.
Well,
that would be like, look, I have this phone I can sell you, and then I'm never going to tell you about it again, and then I'm going to light it on fire.
Well, the reason why I even said anything about that was because the women's football team, the professional football team,
yep.
Just left the women's league. And I'm not exactly sure why. It doesn't give a full explanation on what happened, but it does say that that they've they wrote this letter saying, hey, we appreciate all the support from the Philadelphia fan base and the fan group and stuff like that, but you know alas, we have been unsupported, discriminated against, all this other stuff, and
Sure.
ultimately they have removed themselves from the WNFC, the the Women's National Football Conference.
Gotcha.
So ultimately they are no longer playing, which is a bummer. You know what I mean? Because Philadelphia doesn't have any women's teams really. This would have been something I wanted to support. You know what I mean? So like I said, I was trying to get on the field with them actually, and having, trying to do a practice with them would have probably ended up with me getting my butt whipped.
No doubt. Would have been fun though.
Yes, would have been very fun to do that. But alas, that was not the case. That's not how that's going to happen. So I wish the best of luck to all those ladies. You know what I mean? That's tough when you are in the middle of a season and now all of a sudden your season is done.
Yeah.
As my light decides that it wanted to be done right that moment too.
Light just tapping out.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden, like, whoa.
See, and this is where it wouldn't even matter. Great time to put out some WNBA short. So it wouldn't matter because nobody's hearing about it, which means no one's looking for it, right? Like nobody's looking for coverage or commentary on the WNBA because at this point they've done such a good job of pretending it doesn't exist. Nobody's looking for it. So that would be some of the least viewed content we put out. And it has nothing to do with the WNBA being women's basketball. It has to do with the fact that they don't promote their own product at all.
Correct.
They don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a shame. I wish better. It's this whole women's sports thing. I wish that there was somebody who ran it better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and how is there zero influence on any of? Well, how is there just no influence on any of these broadcast networks? Like you'd think one of them would accidentally have somebody up top that's like, "Hey, we should promote this product." Because it's not like these things are viewed on
the NBA has a women announcer.
Yeah. I mean, just
the NBA has a women
anything.
announcer. Why isn't she promoting it like on TNT?
Exactly. No, that's my whole point. It's like, how is it that none of the networks? Because I mean, women's sports are on all the networks at some point, right? Like they all have access to them, but how does none of them have somebody in the marketing department or their production crew or something? Like how is there nobody willing to promote during? I mean, because there's plenty of times during sports you could throw something in.
Yeah, and you look at the NBA pregame show, they have arguably one of the top 3 WNBA players of all time in Candace Parker as a part of that show. You want to promote the WNBA? Have Candace Parker promote it for you on the NBA pregame show.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not even like it's a conflict of interest. The NBA owns the WNBA, right? So it's not even like it's a competing product. It's their own product. Yeah. Again, it makes absolutely no sense.
And it just baffles me. It just baffles me too how the WNBA is legitimately, realistically, the only professional women's sport out there. I'm surprised you don't have like a professional women's volleyball league or like a professional softball league for that matter. When you look
they
at
do. They
but
do
that's
have.
Like, just the way the WNBA is. Yeah, especially softball though. When you look at how good the United States softball team is for the Olympics every year, you can't tell me that you couldn't come up with a 16-team women's professional softball league and just basically play it around the same time Major League Baseball plays. There's so many women that play softball, so many college softball teams who are great that
Sure.
only get the attention during the College World Series.
Yep.
I'm so surprised that they don't have a professional women's college league or a professional women's softball league at this point.
Or if they do, we don't know about it, and that would put it right in
Yeah.
line with the WNBA.
Well, and that's exactly it. There is, because there's a WNHL. There's a women's
Yes.
hockey league.
Yep.
Yep.
I can tell you
and-
I've seen 0 of those games.
Well, yeah, but hockey doesn't fly very well in Seattle anyways.
Well,
So-
no, but I mean, the thing is like the only thing I've seen from it was it was a couple of years ago, and it would have been like a playoffs type thing, and it was on ESPN the Ocho, right? Like,
Right before tag.
exactly.
And another thing they could essentially do is, I mean, you have ESPN has all this access. They have like ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, and like all these other like ESPN-based channels.
Yep.
Why not create like an ESPN women's channel where everything on that channel is strictly women's sports? That would ultimately be your best way to promote women's athletics, whether it's college, WNBA, softball, whatever it is. Just have like an ESPN women's channel where it's all women's sports all the time.
You know, the thing that's disappointing about that is, you know how that would play out is they would make it so that you had to pay for it separate from the other ESPN channels that are like part of your basic cable,
Yeah.
right? So they'd make it almost so that nobody would take it, right? Like
I would
feel
pay
like
for
sometimes
it.
they just sabotage their own stuff.
Well, I would honestly pay for it, and I guess it's probably because I have ESPN Plus as part of my like Disney Hulu bundle package. I have
Oh,
ESPN
sure.
Plus, so I'm not paying like that additional monthly fee that goes with it.
Yeah.
But like you could essentially like do something like that where even not necessarily call it ESPN Plus, but like call it ESPNW or something for like ESPN Women's, and essentially like bundle that into like a regular Hulu package or something where you don't even know the monthly fee because you're just strictly paying that Hulu fee and it comes out of it.
Yeah, I mean, something like that could work. I just feel like the way that they try and self-sabotage, it would be like this costs an extra $5.
Right. But I think that's ultimately what they're going to have to do at some point, whether it's through ESPN, Fox, CBS, or whatever. I think at
Sure.
some point they're going to have like a women's specific sports channel where all they pretty much show is like women's athletics to promote women's sports better than what they do.
Yeah, I just don't
Well,
think.
they do have a women's sports channel. They do have a women's sports channel. You could, like, I was down in Florida and there was this bar that's what they showed. They showed it's WSPN maybe.
I know the bar you're talking about too. Isn't like every TV in that bar for the most part like all women's sports?
Yep.
Yep, I know the bar you're talking about. I can't think of the name of it, but I know the bar you're talking about.
Yeah, we have one of them here in Seattle as well. That
So-
only does women's sports.
Right.
Oh, the one I don't know if you got to look this one bar up later. It's called like Nutless is the name of the bar, and it's strictly all women's athletics in the bar.
I'm not mad at that. That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, but I got to imagine, like, how does any guy go to a bar called Nutless?
I mean, true. I mean, you go once just for their entertainment value,
Yeah,
I guess.
you go once just to see what it's about, and then it's like, oh,
To get kicked
okay.
out because you have nuts.
Well, they probably don't keep you from going in.
Well, maybe that's the case, but I don't know. And look at that, we're at the top of the hour.
Here we are.
No nuts.
Except the 3 on the screen.
No-
and we're going to get
no,
rid of those.
No testicle Thursday.
That's right. See you on the other side.
This is Reggie Jones, owner and founder of Air Sports Academy. Air is based on 4 core principles: heart, education, integrity, resiliency. Air is about developing student athletes physically and mentally through training, mentorship, and effective marketing. We've created a platform and a blueprint for our state to shine in the brightest of lights. I created this program because it was a need for our state. We needed to have the light shine on the student athletes in our region, and now that is happening at an all-time and undeniable rate. We created a lane for the kids in our state to get their college education paid for and set their families up for future success. We created an environment where serious athletes can now come compete fearlessly. We've achieved this through our variety of elite programs. Our 6-month off-season program, where first-year starters or seasoned vets can all come develop. Our 5-on-5 program, which is all about our line. Our youth tackle program, which is the first and only youth tackle team from the state of Washington to ever win a major national championship. Our 7-on-7 program, which is ranked top 10 in the country every year. Our high school 11-on-11 club tackle program, which creates a unique and much-needed opportunity for our kids. Our college prep program, which allows our graduates to come back from college and prepare for the upcoming season. Our track and field program, which creates an opportunity for our young air boys and air girls to continue to get faster. When you're a national program, you receive national respect, which is why when you look at recruiting boards and top player lists from around the country, you'll always find players from Air on those lists. Which is why college coaches from some of the most prestigious schools around the country come into our facility to recruit our players. The Penn State, Alabama, Oregon, Stanford, Florida State, the list goes on. Our players are being recruited, offered, and committing to some of the top schools in the nation. The experience our players and families receive is second to none. We offer a competitive brand of sports at Air. We are the ball. And with that comes great responsibility. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. This is Air.
All right.
You know, watching that commercial,
Yeah.
it ends too abruptly.
Yeah.
They need
Okay.
to add an extra 15 frames or 1 second. This is Air, and let it kind of
Fade out.
drone
Yeah, no,
off.
I'm with
Yeah.
you. I'm with you.
I like that commercial. You know, I like to see like it's you know it's obviously it's small like an infomercial. You know, it's like 2 minutes long, but
Yeah.
I mean, but I like that commercial. I got to imagine that program does pretty well up there.
It definitely does. Yeah, it definitely does. Reggie stays very busy
Why is it that we don't ever have Reggie on our show?
because he's always very busy.
Tough
I'm
shit.
literally-
We're showing his commercial. Get his ass on this show. I got
That's
questions.
right. Well, it's I'm trying to do it so that I can do it from down in there in the facility, because then we can kind of like highlight the space a little bit.
You'd have to. No, can't do it like that. And no offense to that. It's just that we are under-equipped. You'd have to go down there and film the facility and then edit that programming, show that, and then that would be the lead into his interview with us.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah, because you wouldn't be able to do the interview there at the facility. Number of different reasons. One, he's there working at the facility. He's going to have people coming up to him nonstop.
Well, it
Secondly-
depends on when it is you were, because it's so early in the morning here. It may not be rolling yet, right? Because our show starts at 9 a.m. on the West Coast,
Right.
so as a kids program, that may not be the case right now, right? Kids are still in school.
Well, not anymore. Colleges are already out.
Already?
So for us,
Some of them are.
June is usually when school's let out here.
Even
yeah.
colleges?
There have been some colleges that are already out.
Yeah,
They've
'cause
already had their
Yeah,
finals.
'cause most of the colleges in Wisconsin get out next Friday on the 10th.
I got you. Well, this is a youth program though.
Yeah, but it says colleges and
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
college
them
guys
getting
and then graduate programs and stuff like that. So he's got
Sure.
it all.
Yes. No, and that is definitely one of the things is it's getting a scheduling time that works has been exceedingly difficult.
You know, and it's surprising to me because I got to imagine that there is a good amount of semi-pro football that happens throughout the country.
Yes.
One of the largest leagues of semi-pro ball is played up in Connecticut.
Oh,
and
interesting.
Massachusetts. You know, they have 26 teams in that league.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah,
Now
our
Florida
league's got
has some of that
14.
too.
Yeah, our league's got 14 teams in our semi-pro league up in Wisconsin. 10 from Wisconsin, 2 teams from Minnesota, and then 2 teams from Illinois.
Yeah, I think I think ours out here had it's kind of varied through the years, but it's basically ranged from like 14 to 20. Right.
Yeah, you have those guys that think that they can create a team and then realize how tough it is to actually keep players coming.
Yes.
You know, that's the hard part. And ultimately, these players got to pay to play. So
Yep.
you better have some very motivated players. And anybody who gets into, your age or even my age is already out. They don't have a plus 50 league.
No. So we did actually used to have one. It was a 40+ league, and I think there was 8 teams. It didn't last very long, but I imagine everybody got hurt all the time. But
that's the problem.
It's sponsored by ibuprofen.
800 milligram Motrin.
Yeah, exactly.
For when it really hurts.
It's the size of a hockey puck.
So I mean, there's lots of deck hockey leagues around here. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like there's different types of those types of sports, and really, I mean, let's face it. You know, with as much play as cornhole gets on ESPN and stuff like that, that's really like the next sport. You know, like I want to have a pickleball thing here in my living room. You know, my outdoor.
Sure.
Because I can play pickleball.
Yeah.
I'm actually not bad at it. I'm actually better at that than I am ping pong or tennis.
Certainly better than I would be at ping pong. I am not great at ping pong.
Well, the problem is that you're either very good at ping pong and understand the physics and the dynamics of how ping pong actually goes.
Sure.
Or you're not.
Yeah. And I'm going to go with door number 2 because 1, I never play. And so the random time that I do play, I am not good. Because ping pong is one of those things that you like happen across the table. It's not something you seek out. And so when you happen across the table, you're like, oh, cool, I'll do that for a minute. And, you are terrible at it for about 25 minutes. And then you're like, cool, I'm going to go get another beer. And then you never think about it again.
Yeah. I mean, I've played ping pong against other people who suck at ping pong. And
that's fun.
Right. But
Like,
once you get against somebody who actually knows how to play ping pong, you can't play ping pong. You know, it's like
No, not at all. Like, you don't even return the serve.
Right. Yeah, because you're all set up like far away from the table, and then they're like dink.
Yeah.
You know, and then
or they'll put that like just ridiculous spin on it, and it'll hit in front of you, and then just like hang a left, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, we're doing that. All right, fine.
Yeah. Or it hits in front of you, and then it actually bounced back to the other side of the table.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Where you can't hit it. Like, okay,
Yep.
great. Now it's like, and they don't get the chance. Like, because you didn't hit it, it doesn't matter. Like,
Yep.
Hey, table helped me out there on that one. Doesn't work.
Well, and if you jump forward and happen to hit it, they're just going to spike it, and then it's going to go out the other end of the bar at that point.
Right.
You're like, cool. That was a fun game. I guess we're buying some ping pong balls because they're gone now.
Yeah, same things with tennis. Tennis, I used to be able to do like a 75 mile per hour serve.
Okay.
Which was pretty good. 75, 80 mile per hour, get that there. I just, how many times you have to fault on that, and then you double fault because you think that you're better than you really are, and
Yep.
yeah, but Pickleball, whole different scenario. Whole different scenario. I can, yep. The best part about pickleball for me is that I will switch hands with the racket. I don't know that you're
Oh
even
yeah.
supposed to do that.
I mean,
So
if you
I
can
keep
make
it on.
good contact, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
That's the way I feel. Like I'm not trying to do a backhand. I'm gonna switch hands. And I'll throw the racket to my other hand and hit it, and with a forehand.
The sport that's getting really big in Wisconsin right now is dodgeball.
Dodgeball.
Dodgeball's
We
fun.
had, they have like they. I didn't even know that there was even college dodgeball until like a couple weeks ago. But 5 of the top 10 teams in the nation are from Wisconsin for college dodgeball.
Weird.
Go figure. If you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge a ball.
Yeah, that's exactly where my head went. I was like, I should have been in Detroit.
Yeah, I guess. Meh. You know what I mean? That's like it's dodgeball. You know what I mean? It's
I don't know. Like, it's fun to play. I can't say I'd watch it.
exactly.
I'd probably watch it depending on how hard the people throw. I mean, if you have someone going out there that's freaking wailing those things at you at like 95 miles an hour, I want to see people try to catch them.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's fair. I don't know. Like, that's volleyball for me too. Like, I can't really watch much volleyball. I can watch it for a minute, but then I'm just like, eh. But like, I love playing volleyball. Volleyball's a ton of fun to play. But similar to like golf, I guess is that way too. Like, I'll go play poorly at golf and have a good time. I can't watch golf.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat. Although volleyball, I could watch women's volleyball all day long. Like beach volleyball is great. Love
Yeah,
watching that.
Yeah, well, that's the only volleyball I can watch is beach volleyball.
when is like, yeah, I can still smell that rubber ball by hitting my face.
You know, there is nothing that replaces the sound that ball made when it ricocheted off your head.
Pong!
Exactly. And you could hear it like echo on the way out. Had that like hollow, like, oh, on the way out. Yep. There's no replacing that red ball imprint.
And then your face just stings the rest of the day.
Absolutely. But if you did get nailed with one of those, you're like, you know what? Next game, that person's going to die.
Exactly. I'm out.
We had when we played dodgeball in high school for like gym class and some of the other stuff we did.
Yep.
We had a girl that ended up going to play like college softball, and she was a pitcher. She would frickin' fling those things at you at like 85 miles an hour, and we would duck. We wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's like, nope, sorry.
Yeah, you're
where
not
the
trying
ball
to square up
sticks into the wall behind you. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, it doesn't even bounce. You're like, yeah, you know what? It's cool. Let me let one of your bad players hit me in the foot real quick.
I'll take myself out.
Right.
Especially when it ended up.
Everybody on your
being
team
her
is
versus,
going after that one.
Well, especially at the end
yeah.
of games when it was like her versus like 3 people, and she had like all the dodgeballs on her side, and it's just like, shit. Pick which one's going first because you ain't catching it and I'm ducking.
Yep.
Actually, what you need to get one person to get ready so that it hits them, and then the ricochet you catch.
Well, we had somebody that tried that, and she ended up breaking his thumb and dislocating it
Oh, that's amazing.
because he tried to barehand catch it.
See, that's where you're like little kid picking teams. You're like, and hurt.
Because he was very like sexist when it came to like sports. Like he always said that women were inferior to like the men when it came to sports, no matter what it was.
Yeah, you'd have wanted to break your thumb too.
And she basically said, if you think you're so good, try to catch this. And she frickin' uncorked one, and he put both hands on it, and it dislocated his left thumb and broke his right thumb.
That is amazing, and earned. Like,
And that's why. And then after that, it's like, and that's why we don't stand in front of her trying to catch it.
Yep.
And Robert, I swear to God, I hope he's in Philly tonight. I hope he is in Philly tonight. I would be so excited if he was here. I'll go through his whole catalog and say that movie sucked. You sucked in this one. Those pants make you look fat. You put ketchup on ice cream. Like I got tons of it for him.
Please, dude.
That haircut makes you look ugly. Your mother never really loved you.
You're adopted.
Yeah, that's right. And that one didn't either.
Yeah, I got tons. I hope he's there. Him and Tracy Morgan.
Oh yeah.
Tracy Morgan.
Well, I mean, if they're able to buy one of the 2,000 tickets that the owner is scalping for himself.
I tell you, I mean, he should have given me a ticket. We'll see.
Well, there's still time, right? Game starts at 9.
Yeah.
Got to reach out to that media department.
Be like, hey guys.
I'm sure they're all on StubHub and bought by New Yorkers at this point already.
That's what I would figure. I mean, because TickPick had a bunch of them on there. I got to imagine that these games are here. Actually, prices aren't so bad right now. It's still $200 on TickPick.
I mean, that isn't
for standing room only.
Oh, oh wow. Never mind. I was thinking like if you're kind of
How much is it?
$200
for standing room. That's rough.
Cheapers.
I was thinking like if you were kind of mid stadium sort of seating, like a couple $100. I could see that for a potential closeout game, right?
Yeah, they got $195. There are 2 tickets at that, and then $200 and up, all for standing room only. Yeah, there's no other cheap ticket around. However, you can get the South floor, row 3, for $7,096.
Oh yeah, let me just find that in the couch.
Yeah, exactly.
Holy shit.
That's the South floor is the closest you can get. There's no other seats available there.
Wow. So Rob sent me something interesting in a text this morning. I guess in the saga of Comcast sucks, they are fighting with the Diamond Group, and the Diamond Group has now pulled out. So the Braves, Cards, and Twins are all no longer visible on Comcast.
The Braves, Cards, and Twins.
Yeah, so their games are no longer available on Comcast cable.
Nice.
Yeah.
Twins,
So
twins
Comcast
are,
just even when you have signal, you still can't watch what you want because Comcast is Comcast.
Twins are really pulling straws now. They lost Bally last year. Now, damn.
Right.
They're really pulling straws to get viewership now.
I mean, it's a good thing they're playing well because at least people are going to go to the game, I guess.
Okay. Let's hash out the playing well. They've won 10 games in a row. 7 of them are against the freaking White Sox.
Hey, whatever. They've won. You got to beat the teams that you're playing.
I know that, but that's what I'm saying. The White Sox are so bad. I wouldn't say the Twins are playing that great yet.
I mean, didn't the White Sox just beat a decent team, right?
They swept Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay's not playing well at all.
Yeah.
The White Sox just swept Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
Last week, and they swept Tampa Bay. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about that?
The White
Right?
Sox went from 3-21 to 6-21 over the weekend. And
Yeah.
now they're
Look at
now
them
they're
doubling their
6-20.
win total.
And now they're 6-24 again because then they just got swept by the Twins again.
Yeah, I mean, they should have. That team realistically might be the worst team to ever put on an MLB uniform.
That's what
They
we're
are
talking about.
They are on pace right now to win 33 games.
That would do it. That would do it. Even in the shorter original seasons, I think that would still be the worst.
I think the Detroit Tigers had 46 wins and a 162 game season. I think that was the lowest that I can remember was 46 and 116 by the Tigers.
Yeah, but I think even some of those shortened seasons.
Yeah.
I think 33 would still be the worst.
Yeah, I think 5 was the shortest win total on like a shortened season, but based on win percentage, it still would have been like 40 something on like 162
Oh, for
games.
sure. Yeah. Win percentage. But I mean, just total games. Like they could be the worst even on years that didn't have all the games.
And if people thought Oakland was bad last year, because Oakland was bad last year, that Oakland team would run circles around this White Sox team. That's how bad this freaking White Sox team is.
And this Oakland team is going to return to form.
Yeah. I mean, the White Sox starting lineup, you have Tommy Pham, who's a 35-year-old journeyman who, I mean, he's a solid player. He's not, I don't think he's like a starting caliber player, but he's a solid player. But then you have 36-year-old Robbie Grossman, who I can't remember the last team he even started for at this point. You have 33-year-old Nicky Lopez, who was with the Royals for like 10 years and was a starter for a couple of years, and outside of that hasn't done anything. Yoan Moncada hasn't played since the first week of the season because he shows up for about 10 games and then goes and sits for about 90. Eloy Jimenez got hurt. Luis Robert got hurt. I mean, the White Sox starting lineup, when they trotted him out at the beginning of the season, you had legitimately 4 good players, and the rest of them were a bunch of scrap heap players that somebody would be like, oh, I need a bunch of players for a pickup backyard game. I choose you, and you. Let's go.
Sounds about right.
I hope they do it. I hope they can pull off the worst season ever.
Because greatness, no matter how brief, stays with a man.
That's right. Forever. You can always say, I was part of the worst team to ever suit him up.
We were the best, worst team.
That's right.
Ever.
You know, that's like if you were on the 0-16 Lions, right? That's a record you can hold forever. Went winless.
Can only ever be tied.
That's right. Well, actually, they can get beat now, right?
Now,
they can be 0-17 now.
But, I mean, because I think the Browns also went 0-16.
Browns Lions went 0-16. The Bucks went 0-14 2 years in a row when they first came into the league.
Yep. Yeah. Brutal.
And I feel like the Saints had to be close to that, too, because they used to have the guy with the bag on his head.
Well, and I think the Jets had like a 1-win season also at some point.
Yeah, Jets were 1-15. I think the Saints over like a 4-year period had like 9 wins.
Yeah.
Like right when they first came into the league, they won like 3 games and then like 2 games, 2 games, and 2 games.
Yeah, I think that was essentially like the early 90s Jets.
Yeah.
Right? Like they had one season where they had 1 win, and then they had like 2 wins the next year. It was bad.
Yeah.
So when the Lions went 0-16, they're like, oh, it's a record. And it's like, really? Because I thought the Jets existed. I thought for sure they did that at one point.
Well, the funny thing was with the Lions, though, when Cleveland went 0-16, they tried to go 0-16. Like, you could tell when they were playing, they tried to go 0-16. Like, Hugh Jackson never should have been the head coach. They didn't give him, like, any talent worth working for. Versus when the Lions went 0-16, they had so many games where they had the lead in that fourth quarter that they just couldn't close out. So, like, they were an 0-16 team, but they really weren't as bad as what their record indicated, because 0-16 and you only have, like, a minus 51 point differential and you're 0-16, that goes to show you, like, how many games you were actually in, versus when Cleveland went 0-16, they were, like, minus 300. Like, they tried to freaking lose.
Yeah, no, I mean, that Browns team was, they were deliberately tanking.
Because the game that the Lions went 0-16 against, they lost to the Packers, the final game of the regular season, like 49-48.
Yeah.
So it's not like they didn't try to win games. It's just that they didn't have a defense that year. So even when whoever was back then, was putting up 35 points per game, the defense was giving up 37-38. So it's not like they weren't trying. It's just like, we don't have a defense that can stop anybody. Like, what do you want to do at this point?
Yeah, because, I mean, you still had, let's see, that was Orlovsky, right?
It was Orlovsky. It was Kelvin Johnson's second year, because that's the year they got Matthew Stafford, was after that 0-16 year. So they had Kelvin Johnson was in his first or second year that year. They had Orlovsky. They had a decent running back. I can't remember who the running back was, but I mean, they had some pieces there. It's just that their defense was so pathetically bad.
Yeah, there was no one on defense. So what do you guys think of the Chicago governor saying Bear Stadium ain't going to happen?
Well, I talked to Bears fans there. I'm like, hey, I saw your new house, and I thought I was on Mister Rogers at the Land of Make Believe.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no chance it's going to happen ever.
Yeah. No, the article says the stadium plan is a non-starter. Like, it's just not a thing.
The only way the stadium's going to happen is if they go to Arlington Park, which the owner and the president don't want to do that, which I get it, but you look at where, I don't know if you guys have ever been to Soldier Field or ever been by it, but where that stadium is, it is literally in the worst possible location.
Perfect.
It is literally right. You walk out the side of the stadium, you take like 10 steps, you're in Lake Michigan. There is no freaking parking. There's one underground parking ramp, and I don't even know how many cars can fit under there. Otherwise, you're literally parking downtown Chicago somewhere and taking like a bus or a trolley to the actual stadium to get dropped off. Like, the stadium is horrendous. And if they built a new stadium, they plan to basically make the stadium they have right now the parking lot. Where the hell are you going to put the next stadium next to it? There ain't that much land over there to do that.
Yeah.
So, Robert, just so that you know, Game Time's fees are some of the worst in tickets. So that's not $184 each. It's 200 and some, 200 like $230 each, because they charge you at least 50 some dollars. Game Time sucks. Just my opinion.
Cheapers. Should have
Well, we're not
added
gonna-
this.
we're-
Should
we're
have
not
added this into
sponsored
your
by
rants
Game Time.
yesterday. You should have added this into your rants yesterday.
Right? I mean, all we do know is we know who's not going to sponsor the show.
Hey, I'll say Game Time is great. I just won't buy my tickets from them.
I think ship sailed. Yeah.
Yeah, Game Time. Suck it with your $60 fees on
Yeah.
a ticket for like oh, hold on, it's $158. But if you want to buy it, it's really $213.
Yeah. Now, that stuff is always annoying. Just tell me what it is after all the fees. Like, let's not do this cloak and dagger stuff. Let's just let me know what the price is so I can decide whether or not I'm going to go. Because if I'm wasting the time going through and I'm like, oh, I like the price of that, and then I click on it and it's 40% more, even if I was going to spend that much initially, I'm not going to now, because now I'm just mad.
Right. So listen, guys, I mean, I'm gonna have to get off here because I have a meeting that I have to go attend to, and as I'm thinking about this, I'm not going to be on tomorrow either, because I actually have to go do a shoot in the morning and then a shoot in the afternoon.
Sweet.
So I am literally going to be painted up all day long in a couple different colors.
Right on.
So.
Awesome.
So,
Well,
yeah, I
mean,
apologize. I
weekend.
forgot to mention that earlier to you guys, but I will not be on the show tomorrow. I might call in. You might see me call in as one of the Philly sports guys that I will be, painted up as. But
one of the personalities. I got you.
exactly. But in the meantime, I have to get hopping here because I have to go to a meeting. So
Right on. Well, have fun. And
money is important. So. But all right, guys. See, I don't do the Irish goodbye because I'm Italian. And I'll see you guys all on Monday.
Later, Gator.
Take care.
Yeah.
Hopefully Jay shows up for you tomorrow, because I only got about an hour tomorrow because I have father duties tomorrow. I have special persons day at school.
I got you. Well, who knows? Maybe tomorrow is a prime day for a rerun. We're supposed to have good weather, and it's a Friday. I wouldn't, I'm not saying I'm ruling that out. But
maybe Jay can call us if he's floating down the street in his raft.
Right. Man, that's got to be brutal. Just buy your house and then just get buried. So what you got LeBron doing his normal I might retire thing that he's done for the last 5 years. But the question really becomes, is he done in LA, or is LA try and run this disaster back one more time?
Honestly, I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, he can just pack the hell up and leave, because he's starting to do what Brett Favre did back when Brett Favre was a Packer. And granted, I love Brett Favre. Like, he was probably my favorite football player growing up. So, I mean,
Sure.
I still have a soft spot for him. But what he kind of did those couple of years in Green Bay was pretty stupid and ridiculous.
Yep.
Which it's kind of what LeBron's doing now. He's been saying this now the last 3-4 years. Oh, I might be retiring. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, I don't want to retire till I play with my son.
Yeah.
Your son is a useless pile of shit who averaged less than 3 points per game at USC.
Oh, I thought he was averaging like 4.8 or something.
3.1 is what he finished with.
Oof. Oof.
And you honestly think someone is going to draft your kid just because he has your last name?
See, that's the problem, is someone will.
If they do, they'll make him the 60th pick. They'll draft him dead last in the second round, put him in the G League.
Well, no, see, what it'll be LeBron leaving the Lakers to go wherever is willing to pick him up.
Exactly. So that's why I think he is done in LA. I just don't think he's going to publicly say it until his kid goes somewhere. Because if his kid gets drafted number 60 overall, it'll be to whoever wins the NBA Finals. Typically picks 30 and 60. So we'll just say Boston Celtics, for example, win the NBA Finals. Boston Celtics would pick 30 and.
There's no way they do that.
They could.
Why? You don't want LeBron?
It's just an example.
No, I know, but I mean, like it would have to be somebody like
of the teams that are left in the NBA playoffs right now. Who would want LeBron?
None of them.
One team would. Indiana. Indiana might be the only one I can think of that would want LeBron.
That's still in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Because
you look at the Bucks. LeBron and Giannis play the same position, so that's not going to work. Boston definitely won't take him. Philly's got Embiid. They have Kelly Oubre. They have other pieces. They won't. I mean, they would take LeBron, but it wouldn't be a good fit.
See, I think it would be more like I think you'd be looking at the Suns.
Durant plays the same position.
I know, but Durant's going to force his way out. He's been there for 5 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, does he go to the Clippers? Stay in LA, but go to the Clippers.
Could do that.
Pair himself with Paul George and Kawhi.
That could work. And then you have your Bronny element, right?
And James Harden's there too. So I mean, hey.
I mean,
stays in LA, but he doesn't stay in LA.
Yeah, and that seems like a dysfunctional enough group that they'd be into it.
I mean, Dallas is an option because you have Luka and Kyrie. LeBron loves Kyrie.
He does.
And Dallas doesn't really have a power forward. So Dallas would be an option.
I actually wouldn't even rule out that Durant would find a way to make it work with LeBron.
Oh, I do. I don't think he would at all.
No, I don't think mentally he could. But like his want to win another ring might get him there.
See, I don't.
But then he'd be butthurt the whole time.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I don't even see him even entertaining the idea.
Yeah.
They don't like each other.
Yeah.
They never really have liked each other. Now you're going to bring in a guy that plays the same position as you, that's going to want the ball just as much as you do, if not more than what you do. Like, you complain enough as it is. You got a guy taking your shots away from you, you're going to complain even more.
Absolutely. Oh, no. It would be an epic meltdown. It'd be amazing. That would be must-see TV because that thing would unravel week 1.
You would have refs trying to give the team technicals for fighting against themselves.
Exactly. Oh, man. It'd be amazing, though.
I just want to see what happens if they fire Darvin Ham.
Yeah.
Which all initial reports expect him to be fired by next week. So that's kind of where I think LeBron's going to decide if he's staying or going, because I want to know, I guess, what direction they're going, because LeBron James wanted Ham. So if Ham is now on the way out, are they going to let him have some sort of input on who the next coach is going to be?
I mean, the thing is can you really blame that team's lack of success on Ham?
No, you can't. But the thing is, he was LeBron's guy. that is who LeBron wanted in there. And they
No, for
basically
sure,
said, fine.
But that roster is terrible.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the problem the Lakers are in, though. Like, do you give LeBron input on who he wants as a coach, knowing that you did that this time with Darvin Ham and it failed? Do you give LeBron input on who he wants to play with him, knowing that he's done that the last 3 years in Los Angeles and it's failed?
Yeah,
Or do you basically tell LeBron, you have no input whatsoever this offseason, this is my offseason to do what I want to do? And if that's the case, he's not going to stick around.
I mean, I think that's what you have to do. Like, if you want to win, I would leave Ham in there, right? Because I don't think there's a coach that could have made that roster work. So
I do, but he'll never get another job.
who do you think?
Mark Jackson?
I still don't think that this particular roster would have been great.
It wouldn't have been great, but I think Mark Jackson could have got him on the plan.
Yeah, maybe.
Around that 5 or 6 seed range.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's only a couple of games different, so possibly. But, I mean, more than anything, that roster just needs an overhaul.
The biggest mistake the Lakers made was they could have had Alex Caruso, Buddy Hield, and DeMar DeRozan for $9 million less than what they had Russell Westbrook for last year.
Yeah.
Those three players combined made $37 million last year, and Russell Westbrook made $46 million. Had those three been added to the Lakers would have been a finals contender last year, and they would have been a finals contender this year because DeMar DeRozan just led the NBA in minutes played at 35 years old, averaged 26 points per game. Buddy Hield averaged consistently 16 to 17 points per game in Indiana, and then you had Alex Caruso, who's first-team all-defense, does everything that people never talk about when it comes to steals and all that other stuff, and he would have been a great leader in that locker room.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, I feel that's like doubling down on AD. Now, I understand this is the year he's played more than any other year in his career, but AD is just that guy that you can never, like, if he ever has to be the guy, he always comes up short, right? Like, he's not your leader. Honestly, it's kind of how I view Kevin Durant, right? Like, if he's a piece, great, fantastic player. If he has to be the leader, it doesn't work.
He can be the leader if it's solely based on scoring.
Oh, lost you there. Can't hear you at all, bud. Nope. Weird. Well, that's part of the fun of broadcasting live. Mics randomly drop out. Yeah, I really don't think the Sixers get out of tonight. Despite everything they're trying to do, I think the Knicks get it done, which is surprising to me because I'm just so used to the Knicks finding ways to lose. Just seems weird for them to actually close one out, but I think they will. Hey, there he is.
That was weird. I got a phone call in the middle of what I was saying, and then it disconnected from the Bluetooth.
I gotcha.
That was weird.
But yeah, I don't think the Sixers can pull this off, and not the whole series. I don't think they pull off today, and that's hard for me to say because I always bet against the Knicks.
I think the Sixers do pull it off today because Nick Nurse is 6-1 all time in elimination games at home.
Okay. All right.
And that's
Well,
back when he was
maybe.
with Toronto. He knows how to at least win an elimination game at home.
All right. I'll give you that. I mean, that puts a lot of pressure on the Knicks if they do push it to a game 7, though.
Yeah. If it goes game 7, I'm giving Knicks the advantage anyways, but
Yeah, but that's a
This-
coin flip at that point.
it is, but we've already seen how Joel Embiid plays in game 7 sometimes. He typically doesn't show up.
Yeah, I mean, if he has a great game today, they definitely lose.
Yeah.
Game 7, right? Like if he puts up one of those, 40, 50 pointers, his next game is going to be trash.
Yeah.
Like he's going to be a non-factor. But I do kind of agree with Pags. They have a pretty good shot if he gets 15 rebounds, although he can't just disappear at the end of the game like he did, what is a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Right. Like he's just sitting on the perimeter, not actually participating at the end of the game. Like he can't have that kind of performance.
No, he can't. But this is now 2 years, 3 years in a row now where the NBA playoffs has been drastically affected by injuries.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
and for me, I used to watch the NBA playoffs like religiously. Like I would watch every single game that was on as much as I could outside of working, obviously. But the last 3 years, I've been watching less and less playoff action up until the finals because of the injuries. It just takes away a lot of what these teams are about, especially like Bucks not having Giannis and Damian Lillard.
Yep.
Well, if the Bucks lose that series, did anyone expect them to win if Giannis and Damian Lillard weren't playing? No.
No, of course not.
Pretty much again. I mean, and then you have got like Anthony Davis has been healthy, but I don't think he's 100%. Joel Embiid hasn't been healthy. Like there's so many teams that are missing key pieces where it's like if all Zion being out, like if all these teams were 100% healthy, realistically, I think the only series that would not have gone 6 games is Boston and Miami.
Yeah.
I think every other series would have gone at least 6 games if everybody was healthy.
Sure. It's funny that everybody gets hurt, right? Because now there's so much load management and guys not playing.
And I think that's part of it.
Well, that's the thing is I think it's making these guys less durable, even though they're doing it to try and not get hurt. I think it's actually getting these guys hurt because when you think back before, those guys were playing almost every single game. If they did miss, it was like 1 or 2, and you didn't have all these injuries all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't imagine that the load management, which is already annoying anyway, certainly if you're a fan and you bought tickets to go and then you realize that you are watching the bench play that night, it's just not, I can't think, I don't see any evidence that what it is they're attempting to do is actually working.
What they're attempting to do is keeping their stars healthy for as long as they can keep them healthy for.
Sure.
But then they're not. If you're going to load management somebody, I get it, but don't sit them out. What I consider load management is instead of playing LeBron James 40 minutes a game, play him 26.
Exactly.
Play him 27. Like that's what I consider load management is I'm managing your minutes. I'm not actually taking games away from you.
Exactly. And lots of games.
Yeah.
Right?
Like that's what I consider load management is like, oh, for the next 10 games, instead of playing 40 minutes a game, you're going to play 30. Like that's load management. You're managing his minutes. You're not being like, oh, you're going to just sit for the next 10 games because you just want to.
No. And that's what load management should be is, okay, you know what? Struggling a little bit or, maybe a little too much strain based on the schedule that came through. Yeah, we're going to back your minutes down. But when you see guys that are out for, 2-3 games, you're like, what are you even doing?
Well, it's like what Kobe Bryant said before he passed away. It's like coaches have asked me to sit games out, and I always tell them no because there are kids in here and families in here that spend their hard-earned money to watch me play. This could be their only time they get to see me. So why am I not going to play?
Exactly.
And that's the approach that a lot of these athletes need to take. Like, I understand that you want your load management, but even if you're on the court for 15, 20 minutes,
Mhm.
at least the kids that came to watch you play can say, I got to watch him play for 15, 20 minutes, as opposed to they might never get to watch you play if they go to a
Exactly.
game that you don't play.
Yeah. No, every time I see one where they're like, oh, yeah, this, and this, they're all not playing. It's like, cool. So your sixth man is now like your star on the court
Right.
that night. You're just like, man, that is such a horrible look for organizations to do that.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. I mean, you're getting paid to play a game. Like, just get on the
I mean,
court.
and Kawhi Leonard was the one that started it all.
Yes.
But at the same time, I understood a little bit more because he was having complications from that knee surgery the year before, and his
Yeah.
knee wasn't 100%, so that I could understand. But since then, he's kind of used that to his advantage. He's like, no, my knee's a little sore today. I don't feel like playing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like the first year of recovery, we'll speak, so to speak. Yeah, I get it. Right. Like you're rehabbing in real time. Sure. I'm with it. I don't think that plays for the rest of your career.
No.
Either, or if it does, then you probably need to get that knee worked on again. Like
I mean, you could be Lonzo Ball and decide that, oh, my knee needs to be reworked, and now I have a broken knee inside of a broken knee, and I'm literally probably never going to play basketball again.
I mean, it's not like it was great.
he was good in Chicago. Those 45 games that he was with Chicago, he was good.
He was decent there. I'll give you that. He was decent there.
Bulls were 38-17 and number one in the Eastern Conference when they had Lonzo Ball. And since he got hurt, they have not been the same team.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. I forgot about the beginning of the Bulls' career for him.
Because he was averaging like 15, 6, and 8.
Yeah.
In those games that he played before he got hurt. Like, he was shooting 43% from distance, which was like a career high. He was shooting a career high from the field. Like, everything was the best it's ever been, and then that happens.
Yeah. 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 It wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't play again, though. I mean,
he will. He'll get an opportunity. It's just a matter of what kind of opportunity you get. I think it's going to be similar to Derrick Rose. After Derrick Rose's knees started going and then Chicago got rid of him, it was constantly 1 or 2 year deals with this team, 1 or 2 year deals with this team, where you're going to come off the bench and maybe play 20 minutes, but then every year you're going to get less and less minutes. Yep. I think it could be that way. I think he might get an opportunity to start one more time, depending on what team it is. But for the most part, I don't see him ever getting more than a 2 year deal anymore, just because I don't think anyone will be able to trust that knee.
No, that's fair. Yeah, Derrick Rose was one that was a bummer. Because he, I mean, he was good. He was good. There's so many.
He's one of those players where his bones were not made to take the beating his body put it through.
Yep.
Especially his MVP season. Like, the beating that his body took during that MVP season, he did not have the frame to withstand that for, like, the longevity of his career. And you knew something was going to happen. I don't think anyone expected his knees to completely go to shit after that.
Yeah.
But you knew some sort of a leg injury, whether it was a knee injury, an ankle injury, whatever it was. You knew something was going to come because his body was not built to take the punishment it took those first couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, which is too bad because, I mean, fantastic player when he was healthy.
Freak athlete when he was healthy.
Exactly. No, that is definitely, he definitely falls in the category of players that you think their career could have been very different if they didn't.
He probably could have been, realistically, I think he could have been a top 50 player all time. Had he not gotten hurt, and he probably could have been pushing borderline, I think, top 25.
No, I'm with you there. I could see that.
And then when you look at point guards and all the Hall of Fame point guards, he probably could have been in that top 10 point guard range by the time his career was over.
For sure. Yeah.
That just goes to show you how quick. That just goes to show you how quick one injury basically ended his career. I mean, it was obviously a series of knee injuries, but it was that first knee injury that he had that really ended his career because he was never able to stay healthy after that.
Yeah. One, and even after it was fixed the first time, like it wasn't He was never quite the same player.
He
either.
didn't have the same. He didn't have the same explosion. And when
Exactly.
he tried to get that explosion back, that's when the knee gave out the second time.
Yeah. No, it was that one was too bad because you're just like, oh man, this guy's no joke. Like you might see a resurgence of the Bulls here. That'd be kind of cool. And then
And they did resurge. His first 3 years, they were
For
the
sure.
number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference 2 of the
Exactly.
3 years, and it's just like holy shit. And then all of a sudden, it's like, wow, that was fun.
Yep. Yeah. No, felt bad for him because you're just like, oh man, that should have went different.
Well, it wasn't that you only felt bad for him because of that. You felt bad for him because he was a Chicago kid. Like he was
Yep.
born and raised in Chicago. He went to high school in downtown Chicago in Simeon. Like he was the definition of what a hometown kid is.
Yeah.
Like you always hear these stories in the NFL where it's like, oh, the hometown kid was drafted to the Bears. You were from Elk Grove, Illinois, which is like 36 miles outside of Chicago. It might be your hometown team, but you're not a hometown kid.
Sure.
Derrick Rose was the exact definition of a hometown kid that grew up 5 miles from where the Bulls play their home games.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, those don't work out very often.
Nope.
Awesome. Well, I mean, that basically brings us to the end of the show. There is a good chance that we will do a rerun tomorrow, have a Friday off. And so, small victories. What do you got going on this weekend?
Baseball.
Oh, that's right.
I had high school game tonight if we play it, one tomorrow. My son's first game for travel ball is Saturday. And then I'll probably go to the Cubs and Brewers on Sunday.
Nice.
It's supposed to be 84 degrees in Chicago on Sunday, so.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, we're not going to get quite that kind of weather, but supposed to be a little bit nicer and going to go jump on a ferry and play on the peninsula tomorrow or Saturday and check out my brother-in-law's new house. So should be a fun weekend, but yeah, other than that, I guess we'll see everybody next week.